Guys and gals, we are here to do an interview this evening with one of my dearest friends, Ryan Embree, who is the guitar player for the band who is currently sitting on his T-shirt because he never plans this because,
yep,
you know,
it's funny how that
nobody
worked.
Nobody plans anything; it just happens. Okay.
You just wake up in the morning, you grab clothes, you throw them on, you look down afterwards. Oh, well, that's convenient.
I don't get that. I don't get that choice Monday to Friday. It's wake up, put a CarQuest shirt on, or put on a plain black T-shirt and hope for the fucking best.
Pretty much.
So, obviously, you guys have a new album coming out, which is hence why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So I'll let you do all the details.
Okay. Cool. So this is my first album with the band since joining back in tail end of 2018, early 2019. Kind of joined in right after War Inside was out. Their previous guitar player, Colin, decided at the right during the CD release cycle that he just kind of wanted to do his own thing and kind of fucked off. So that left Bill and Jason without a guitar player. So I offered my services. Here we are. So rather than try and salvage a promotional cycle for a record that I had nothing to do with, Bill was like, okay, we're going to pull back. I've got a whole album already written. We're ready to rock and roll. So we started in on the album that's coming out today. Well, it'll be a, the video is airing on the album release date, but we're talking about it the week before. So future mind meld. But so the new album, Somewhere Between the Truth and the Void, is out today, March 11th. And you guys should go pick up a copy. Maybe go over to our Bandcamp and order a T-shirt CD combo, pick up the physical copy of the CD, stream the hell out of it out of Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you have. Anything to help out the band. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to go into some of the basic cheese bag questions that mostly everybody asks.
Everybody asks them, yep.
Since you basically answered one of my questions, I'm going to sort of tweak it a little bit.
Yep.
So where was the first moment that you sort of forayed into or went into the whole metal thing? Okay.
I started kind of getting into harder forms of music in kind of middle school. So would have been early to mid 2000s. I mean, just for context, Trevor and I literally have the same birthday and we're a decade apart. So so we share the birthday with the creation of Metallica. You can't get much better than that, boys.
No.
But so I kind of started getting in more into more pop punk stuff at first. I was into stuff like Green Day and The Offspring and other kind of bands in that same similar vein. And then it kind of progressed. I got into a little bit more, I guess, alternative grunge, whatever you want to call it, stuff that was kind of booming at that time, 3 Days Grace and to a certain degree, replays of Alice in Chains and that sort of thing. And then just out of the blue, a buddy of mine gives me a copy of, this is in maybe 2006-ish. He gave me a copy of Rain and Blood by Slayer, and he says, go home and check this out. So went home, listened to it. Trevor and I have discussed it at length about how much I cannot stand Tom Araya's vocals. But, so I gave it back to him the next day, and I was like, nah, man, I like the music, but I don't like the vocals. What else you got? So he's like, okay. Comes back the next day, and he gives me Master of Puppets. And he was like, go listen to that. So I was like, all right. And that was kind of the light bulb went off, and I was like, the music can be melodic and heavy. So that was kind of where I started from there. Just anything that had metal in the name, I started trying to absorb as much of it as I could. I got into a lot of the kind of melodic death metal stuff very early on, In Flames, Children of Bodom, to a lesser degree, more groove metal stuff like Pantera and, Slipknot and all that other kind of stuff that was booming in the early 2000s. And just kind of been down the rabbit hole ever since.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously, with the differences in ages, you're 30, I'm 40.
Yep.
I mean, I can understand the whole thing about Slayer because not everybody's going to be like Slayer all the time, every 18 seconds of the day. I can't, and I'm a big Slayer fan.
True that.
Because sort of the same thing with you. I mean, mind you, I was more into the, I started with the Stones and Outlaw Country, and then I moved to AC/DC, and then onward into my metal madness. One guitar player or musician that spawned you to play guitar. One.
The first one that got me even interested in the guitar as an instrument was my dad. He had an old acoustic kicking around the house for a number of years. He used to do a lot of music when he was involved with one of our local churches. He was a part of the music ministry team there, so he did a lot of Sunday morning music services. So seeing him on stage with a guitar and a microphone in front of him kind of was like, okay, that was what started me A, liking guitar, and B, wanting to go down the path as a musician to begin with. So if it wasn't for Dad having a passing hobby of enjoying playing cowboy chords to Jesus music, we wouldn't be here.
Jesus. Well, I'll put it to you that way. Over the amount of times that you and I have talked, I'm actually sort of surprised, but not, because I believe that we had at one point talked about that. So
I think so, yeah.
I can respect that. Because, I mean, most people will be like, oh, well, James Hetfield or whoever. But, to stick with sort of the lineage, I respect the hell out of that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be cliche, once I actually got into, Metallica and everything, James's rhythm guitar drew my ear a lot more than Hammett's lead playing. And that's not to say that, obviously, that Kirk Hammett's a bad guitar player by any stretch. His stuff was very pentatonic, very simple, but it worked. So, but just that percussive kind of chunk that Hetfield has going on with his right hand is just, I was like, that's the goal. So, haven't gotten to that level yet, but, it'll happen.
I mean, obviously, again, with that whole age thing, the one, for me, was Malcolm Young.
Yeah.
But then again, Malcolm Young was everybody else's influence.
Well, yeah, I mean, Scott Ian, from Anthrax, that's his biggest influence. He's just what inspired you to pick up guitar? And he was like, I heard Malcolm Young. And he was like, and that was it.
So, with you getting into Doom Machine,
yep,
I sort of want to I kind of want to pry a little bit.
Sure.
As you said, you offered up your services.
Yeah.
Did you automatically just kind of go, hey, Bill, I want to do this? Or did you kind of pull back a little bit and go, okay, do I want to do this? Is this something that I can actually really make a go at, keep it sort of a long-term thing? Because I know for a while with the whole departure of Colin, Bill had put up a couple of posts, and then there was nothing. And then next thing you know, hey, we have a new guitar player. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
So fun little bit of backstory. When I had just started my music degree at Acadia, Bill had put out a Kijiji ad in early 2012, 2013, that kind of general ballpark.
Yes.
And I had replied to that. And then when he kind of outlined what he was looking for commitment-wise, I'm like, okay, that doesn't line up with my class schedule and what other commitments I had at the time. So I was like, okay, so that's not going to work. But, so he had given me, a link to the band's music, and I had listened to the first album that they had put out, Immortal, which was available on, Bandcamp or whatever it was. And I was like, this is really cool that this is coming out of, literally my backyard. When I was living with my parents, I was, a 15-minute drive from Bill's house. So, so I kind of, that was just always in the back of my brain, so I started kind of following the band a little bit. And anytime they put out an album, I'd always grab a copy, and Bill and I became pretty quick friends. But when he put out that post, I messaged him, and because I was like, oh no, the band had 2 or 3 shows already booked. So it was, I think it was Wreck the Halls, and I think they had another fundraiser or an album release show or something lined up. And I literally just said to Bill, like, okay, like, how, like, do you need a guitar player to fill in? Like, you know, give me your set list and, like, your tunings and whatever, and I'll see what I can do to figure this out. So Bill was like, no. He's like, I've already canceled the shows. He's like, we're good there. So, but he was like, how about this? He goes, I'll give you some material to learn. You come in, hang out with Jason and I, and we'll kind of jam it out, see how it feels. So I was like, all right. So I think he gave me like 5 songs to learn. I think he gave me War Inside. He definitely gave me Earthshaker. Yeah, he gave me Earthshaker.
Love that song.
He gave me Bring Me to Nothing. And a couple other scattered ones that I can't think of offhand. But anyway, so we went through and we started jamming on some stuff, and just 2 or 3 songs in, like, Jason just basically Bill looks over at Jason, and he's like, well, what do you think? And Jason was like, sounding okay to me. And that was kind of that was kind of that. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where everything kind of like just lined up at the right time, and because I had just taken a lesser role with my schooling, because in the schooling stuff I kind of hit some roadblocks and needed to take time off, so I had a gap year. Then I had to go and do part-time student stuff to try and get back on track. So with the lesser requirements from the school stuff, and combined with what schedule I knew that I had from work, I was like, okay, we can make this work. And yeah, so partway through, like I said, when we were still learning some of the back catalog stuff, even Bill started throwing me demos. And he was just like, here, start learning some of this. This is kind of what I'm gearing up towards. So even like basically from day one, I was getting demos and working with Bill towards the songs that are on this album. What had happened, actually, I was learning, I think it might have been Earthshaker, actually. And just for some weird reason, I screwed up the chord progression. And I came up with this riff that I was like, okay, this is cool. And so I recorded it and I sent it to Bill. Next day, he sent me back a complete demo of a song, and he was like, that riff gave me like total like brain juice. He was like, so here we go, we have a new song.
Thanks, Earthshaker.
Right? Yeah, so, but that song ended up becoming the Truth,
which is a great track.
Yeah,
a great track. Because you're a guitar nerd and I'm a guitar nerd, we can't play because my hands are messed up.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I can't play to begin with. Because everybody who watches my channel knows I either rank albums, reviews, yada yada, fucking yada.
Right.
I will give you my score at the end of this for sure.
Cool.
And I'll just kind of do some little bits about it. But I have to know, what is your main guitar or preferred guitar setup? Obviously, now that things are going to be able to go open and all that shit. Like,
we'll finally start to be able to play live again, which will be great. Oh my god!
Right. The nerves.
Yeah.
Do like, because I know most of it, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it still the same setup that you and I have talked about before? And if it is,
yeah,
what is it?
It hasn't changed too drastically, actually. But it's actually perfect you say that, because literally, if you can kind of look in the back corner there, my guitar boat's up against my up against my couch. But
bring it right.
So this is actually, generally speaking, the main squeeze. So it's a Paul Reed Smith Torero, which is a now discontinued model that they put out. I found it on Kijiji. Some guy had spent $600 upgrading the thing, and then he's like, "Yeah, I don't really want it anymore." And I was like, "I'll take that." So, but yeah, and then I kind of upgraded some stuff too. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see that, but those more fiddly bits are upgraded to stainless steel, so just gonna last a ton longer.
100%.
But yeah, so I use this. The band is down a whole step from standard, so we're in D standard and drop C. I use some fairly thick strings for that. My bass string is a 54, I think I'm pretty much, when you were trying to play guitar, I was like, if you're going to be that low, that's kind of your minimum. So
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, this one was actually the main rhythm guitar on the album, too. And again, you and I talk a lot, so as I've told you, for some weird reason, my hand just plays better on a Floyd. I have no idea why. But just like the tightness and the muting and everything, it's worlds different than when I'm playing on a stoptail.
And again, that could be due to the tuning stability, because as we know, once this shit goes out of tune, it's like...
Yeah, it's like, well, there's your entire take of rhythm tracks done, because your quad track or double track or whatever is chorusing on itself, so you're just like, bleh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the main one. And the other one that's probably going to get a lot more stage use now that we can actually play live is this thing. That was
the Night Horse.
The Ghost Horse, the one that
Ghost Horse, yeah.
Brendan Small put out. Roy is actually super annoyed that he can't get one till like this summer. He's been on a wait list since like last year. But,
yeah, and he mentioned that, and then of course he said something about he was fucking Ryan. But
yeah,
such is life, right?
Yeah, right. But yeah, this is the thing that I like about this one that's a little bit different is it's even more stable because the Floyd isn't backgrounded. So it just sits right on top of the guitar. So even if I break a string on this, it's got nowhere to go. It's not going to go out of tune. I can finish the song, switch over to the other guitar.
Yeah.
So, little perks. But same thing, I upgraded the titanium and stuff onto the Floyd there. But this one's kind of blue. I'm not sure how well that shows up on camera. But
from my vantage point, it almost like it's like a blue...
Yeah, the way the light hits it, it kind of shifts a little bit. But
yeah,
I've been using those. Basically, main setup is going to be any sort of a humbucker equipped guitar, whether it's EMGs or passives or whatever. I prefer passive, but sometimes for rhythm, just the extra juice that you get out of the active circuit's always nice. But so there's that. My amp rig is Hughes and Kettner Black Spirit. Went into just a Hughes and Kettner 212. And my pedal board is literally just the old Dunlop Crybaby from Hell, the dime bag wall with the skate tape and the camo paint and everything. And just an Ernie Ball volume pedal, just so that I don't have to screw with my volume knobs.
Which, yeah, because a lot of guys, if they get that sweet spot with the volume knobs, rather than fuck with that and try to find it again, you can just rip.
Yeah, exactly. Just the volume pedal's right there. It's on the floor, and good to go. Other than that, it's just a tuner. If you don't have a tuner, it's going to be out of tune. You're going to sound crappy no matter how good your gear is.
Exactly. So, one thing that I've noticed over listening to this album, and of course listening to other tracks like older stuff, debut record, and so on and so forth. Can Doom Machine, even though Doom is in the fucking title, can you call the band a Doom band? Because if you ask me, and my thought process, the answer is fucking no.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because even originally, and I could be wrong on this, so don't take what I'm saying with 100% truth. When Bill sees the interview, he's more than welcome to correct me.
Yes, absolutely.
But he originally intended this to be this was just more of a side project for him, where it was going to be like something he did at home on his own downtime, where it was going to be a lot more kind of industrial, kind of, like more sludgy, down-tuned stuff with like kind of more synth elements and electronic stuff, like kind of, more like heavy Nine Inch Nails, basically.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, but then the band that Bill and Jason were in before that kind of like, and then Doom Machine just kind of became the new thing that they were working on that was more, so Bill was like, okay, so I'll just start writing more other kind of stuff. Like he got really when he started playing guitar, he got in with, obviously a lot of the classic stuff, but he really kind of latched onto like Black Label Society.
Okay, yeah.
So he kind of got into those, down-tuned kind of sludgy riffs that Zach was doing at the time. And he was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And so that's why the band is tuning wise where we are, because that was what Bill learned on. So, but yeah, so that was kind of where that started. But then when they moved that, they made a kind of just more of a general emphasis. Bill already had the name, so he was like, we'll just roll with it. And there's all kinds of influences from us. There's a lot of like stoner, and there's a little bit of thrash, and a little bit of classic metal. And Bill's an obvious huge fan of Iron Maiden. Although he wishes he could play bass like Steve Harris. I think we all do.
Yeah.
But this was already something that he had just originally intended on being like a back burner thing, and then suddenly everything imploded, and he was like, "Well, now it's my main thing." So,
yeah. Which is funny. I mean, and because I've always giggled every time I like do machines like Teehee, the band with the the genre in the name is not even remotely.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say that, because obviously like. Throws off of the new record. Earthshaker sort of get that a little bit, but it's more of a sludge kind of thing. Yeah,
that breakdown at the end of Earthshaker where it's like, like that's, and even some of the like the earlier stuff like on like Doom Nation, or even on the first record like Beyond the Distant Sun. Like anything on Written in Stone is a lot more kind of groovy, almost kind of more stoner-esque, like in that camp. Again, we have Doom in our name, but we're kind of anticlimactically not heavily Doom all the time. It's in there, but it's more of a flavor rather than the predominant dish.
Which to be honest, is kind of smart. Because people are like, oh, well, we're expecting one thing, and then you hear like Earthshaker, or you hear something off the new record like Somewhere or Regret, and it's like, wait, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Where's the Doom? Well, it's in there, and it's in the chorus and throws, and of course there's a bit even the Void. Broken Crown is definitely in there for sure.
Oh yeah.
With those slow, simple, thuddy, thwacky shit.
Yeah. On that note, we actually found out, because again I have a music background, so I've studied this. We found out unintentionally that the way that Bill wrote that riff was actually it's a mixed meter thing. So Jason's playing straight 4/4 all the way through, but the riff is in 3. So
that's that whole dynamic thing, right?
Yeah, it was weird when I clued into it. I was like, why isn't this lining? Oh, light bulb.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Now, this is kind of a perfect segue into my actual legitimate next question. So with the album, there's a lot of different parts to this, and because you're not actually a Doom band, complete Doom band, the melodicism, the heaviness, vocal harmonies from here to Texas and back for days.
Yeah.
Bill still has that very clean into that sort of snarl.
Yep.
It's almost as if he doesn't ever lose it at each record that he does.
It gets better, honestly, I think. But
with songs like Regret and Somewhere specifically, was that a subconscious decision, or was that just something that you guys had completely planned out and it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do, or is it, fuck it, let's just do it and,
well, Bill kind of looks at it.
See where it goes.
Yeah, Bill looks at albums kind of as a whole product in advance before he kind of finalizes, quote unquote, the track list. For kind of a general thing, Bill does the lion's share of the songwriting, where he'll basically, like I said, at the start of when I joined in, like Bill sends out entire demos with like just like programmed drums and very minimal work, because I mean it's a demo, but he'll send out like entire songs. So he'll have lyrics, he'll have vocal melodies, he'll have guitar parts. The only thing he doesn't do is the actual guitar solos. So he tries to look at albums at like almost like a movie, or like a ride, at an amusement park. Like you've got your highs, you've got your lows, and then you've got your sudden transitions that you're not expecting. So it just kind of keeps you on your toes. He's got when he wrote like Somewhere or like Regret, those were very much conscious decisions. Just and where we put them in the album was designed for that kind of theatrical effect where you can kind of listen to it and you've got your peaks and valleys and it's not all the same stuff all the time. Like even though, like I say, we're like kind of generally speaking more of a mid-tempo band, we've still got it so that like okay, here's a faster song, here's a slower song, here's like a piano ballad, like that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very much well thought out.
I mean, the one thing that outside of the music, because the music is one thing, and it's something I've come to expect with Doom Machine, and something that I've always enjoyed and loved about Doom Machine. Vocally, because now I'm just doing vocals, I really focus on that probably the most, and I must say that the dual vocal that you guys are doing, especially in like the Broken Crown, the Void, more so because that's mostly you on that.
Yeah.
There's enough background where it's to the point where it's like, this is probably some of the best dual vocals I've heard on a record in a long time.
Oh, thank you.
That's localized, and I must say that localized because I've heard records where it's just like, oh my shit, like how the hell did these guys do that? And it's like a band like Kill or Be Killed, and I use that as an example because you got literally 3 different vocals, all harmonizing at once sometimes, and then when I pull back to you guys, and it's like I said to you when I first heard Broken Crown on the radio, it was okay, fuck off with this Alice in Chains thing, like. And people are like, yeah, no, it absolutely sounds like fucking Alice in Chains.
Yeah, and like again, that's an influence for both Bill and me. I come at it more from the overall kind of like feel thing, where like for the guitar parts, like I do my own writing, and I'm like I'll send riffs to Bill or whatever and be like, hey, what do you think of this? I don't consciously try and rip off them, but like just the way that Cantrell has this weird kind of like tight but loose playing at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It's very much like a pocket thing. So
I
try and come up with stuff like that every once in a while, but given some of my other more technical influences, sometimes my parts come out that way. Like for example, Bill had, we don't even know I can't remember what was there. I'd have to find the old demo. But just before we kick into that double time section in Throne of Eternity, Bill had a different riff there entirely. And that the one that's there now is something that I wrote. And because it's a little more thrashy, kind of more on the nose for what I kind of listen to. So, but when he listened to it, he was like, okay, that's a cool transition riff. I like that. And then I just replaced what was in there and it worked out better. So that's, kind of like how, and even like a lot of other guitar players will say that. They're like, I'll have a thing, and then somebody else in the band will have this other thing that'll be perfect to go right after that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool now, like how we've developed that kind of rapport already, even though, like I said, I've only been in the band for like, a couple of years. Just the fact that we can bounce stuff back and forth, and Bill can hear it, and he'll be like, yeah, okay, that's an intro. That's a transition riff. If we put this and we change the key on it, that's a verse for a song or whatever. And he's just like, he's got the brain to pick that stuff out in advance. So, I don't have that yet. It's a skill. It's like a muscle. The more I write, the better it'll get.
Yeah, and that kind of shit takes time. Because, I tend to do that too, but I don't have the capability that Bill has. That I can assure you. So with all this being said, is there any chance, and you can confirm or deny or whatever, would Doom Machine ever record a full album that is completely off the tracks of sorts, or do you guys prefer to stick to the game plan that you're on? Because some bands will go for the first 2 to 3 records and they're strictly whatever,
right?
And then their 4th record is like, wait, what the fuck is this?
Where did that come from?
Right, because Blood Incantation, they did a sort of tech spacey death thing on their last record, and then they come out with this thing where it's completely ambient, and everybody goes,
Like, what?
"What the fuck is this?"
What?
Is that something that you guys have ever talked about, even as sort of joking? Because everybody does it. Really.
I think the only thing that we've really talked about that would be kind of like out of left field is we've passively thrown around the idea of doing an acoustic EP. So like kind of taking some of the songs and reworking them from their original structures into something that translates more to like almost like a, I guess for lack of a better word, like a singer-songwriter style thing.
Yep, that makes sense.
It would take a little bit of deep diving, but back in 2019 or 2020, something like that, just before the last Maritime Hard Rock Metal Festival, I was just rehearsing and screwing around on my acoustic, and I figured out End of Darkness from Doom Nation, because we were going to be playing that song live, like the actual album version, but I was like, I can hear that working as like an acoustic thing. So I was just like, I just set up my phone and I just kind of recorded it as a one-off, put it up on Facebook, and Bill messages me like a day or two later, and he was like, "So Terry heard your, your acoustic thing," and he's like, "And now she wants an acoustic album."
Yes.
So, I mean, it's something we have passively talked about it. Like, it's something, not necessarily a full acoustic album, but maybe do it as like a B-sides or like an alternate takes of a certain album. Like, Bill kind of, in his head, he's got an alternate version of Regret that's a little bit more kind of power ballady. So, Regret meets Somewhere, and you kind of get in the middle for his alternate version. So, we've talked about doing that. I'm not sure if and when that'll see the light of day, but it's a fun little thing to have kind of tucked in the back of your brain.
Okay, makes sense to me. Sort of last, but the last question before I get into my thought process.
Yes.
What are your guys' plans for the album cycle? I mean, are you guys going to do any sort of in-depth touring? And I mean, I know that I've spoken to Bill a long time ago about setting up shows when I was with Beyond Eternal.
Yeah. But
of course, time constraints and travel and holy shit travel.
Oh,
what are your guys' plans, or have you even got that far yet?
We obviously for the most part, bands especially bands like us, like we generally speaking, where we're so tiny, the bulk of our income is from live shows, like selling off physical merch from people being there, like, the CDs and the shirts, and we've got talks about some other merch items coming up later on down the line. But that's where we make the bulk of our money. There was one year Bill said, like, he didn't even play. Like, the band wasn't even on the bill. And he, it was for actually year 3 or 4 at the Hard Rock Festival in Windsor. And Bill asked Jay if he could set up just a merch booth just for the band. Jay was like, yeah, that's fine. They outsold every other band that was actually playing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like they made good money, and he was like, yeah, that's the most we've ever sold in merch. And he's like, and we didn't even hit the stage to play a note.
Yeah, so, and I think that shirt that you have on currently is the one that Roy bought at that third version of it. That
would have been around that same time frame, yeah. So, but so we're definitely planning on it. Now that there's going to be kind of lessening restrictions, we should be able to kind of get out and actually hit some stages, whether they're the little tiny postage stamp that is Gus's, or maybe see if we can get it over into some of the other provinces again. I know New Brunswick is overdue for a Doom show.
That's if the fucking gas prices allow us.
Oh, that too. Yeah, gee. I've heard you guys went up 10 cents or something stupid.
No, we went up 5 cents, and we're going up at least 7 again tonight.
Oh, Yeah, I heard I think somebody
Or-
posted on Facebook for Nova Scotia, yeah, we're going up like 10 cents. So after this interview, I'm literally going to the gas station.
It's a smart idea. Okay, so after listening to this, I will state for the record that I've listened to a couple of tracks the most. These
Okay.
are the ones that sit with me the most.
Right.
The Void.
Yep.
Throws. Somewhere. Or Thrones, I think.
Yeah,
Thrones.
yeah, Throne. Yeah.
Somewhere. Regret. And Between.
Okay.
So, when I think about this, and especially a song like Somewhere, Regret, those two are actually probably the upper echelons of my favorite tracks.
Okay.
Even though I'm a big fan of the heavy stuff, Broken Crown's killer.
Yeah.
And so is The Void. The Void because it's a completely different vocal from what everybody's going to be used to.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, that was the only reason for that, believe it or not, was that when that main riff in there, that bow, 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 for some weird reason, Bill could not get his brain to play the riff and sing the vocals at the same time.
Well,
he was screwing up one or the other. And so he got just super frustrated one night at rehearsal, and he goes, "Do you want to try this?" And I was like, "Okay." So
and it worked.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did the same thing when we played the Hard Rock Festival. That year we did a cover of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing. He was trying to... It's just that... It was mostly the... that bridge riff. That... He couldn't do vocals and play that.
Well, yeah, because it's fucking trying to sing over a geezer bass line is not the easiest thing unless you're in a tech deck.
No kidding, right? But, so he was just like, yeah, he was like, I can't do that. So originally he just said, well, why don't you just do the vocals on this part? I'll do the vocals on the other half. Mm-hmm. And then he finally just said, you know what, screw it. He's like, do you want to just do the whole song? So.
And it sounds really good. And a lot of what I'm hearing, like with the melodicism is a lot of yob.
Yeah.
A lot of yob. And the main parts of that is mostly, I have a CD here somewhere. I think it's Beauty Falling Through Leaves, I think, or I think that's the album title. But the other one that I hear is Our Raw Heart, which is, they're on the same record.
Okay.
There's a lot of melodicism, especially with your vocals, with Bill's vocals. The snarl is there too, of course, on the other tracks. But I don't hate that because I'm a big fan of that band, and there's enough of the in and out to really make this record sound complete. It sounds fucking excellent.
Yeah.
Production, absolutely spot on. I've listened to enough vocal stuff from here, stuff from PEI, stuff from Nova Scotia, because most of the stuff is from Nova Scotia, Moncton, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
There are guys that can do production, such as the Kyle McDonalds of the world, Ryan Gallant from Death Valley Driver.
Yeah.
He does a lot of producing and mixing and so on.
Okay.
The last 2 or 3 Doom Machine records, and not including this one, get better every time. This blows all of them away.
Yeah.
In production values, everything's tight. Even though the bass is not forward in the mix, it sits sort of as, like, I think of the Black Album, and I use that simply because of the fact of where the bass sits with the low end of the guitar, so that it's not completely fucking drowning you out or anything else.
Yeah, and again, that was a very conscious decision, where the only reason that Bill's bass is so upfront live is because we're a 3-piece. So if once my rhythm guitar parts drop out, if I'm playing a lead or like a solo or whatever, he just has like some extra grit and distortion and volume there to just kind of round it out, so at least I'm not soloing over like, country bass lines or something. but yeah, like that's what he does, and that's why he does it that way. He was originally supposed to have been the guitar player in the band, but just as you do, you always have trouble finding bass players. So he just finally said, "Fuck it," and he's like, "I'll just do bass."
We're a slippery breed, you see.
Yeah, but yeah, so because of that, like on the albums, he's like, when I mix them, he's like, the bass is up enough where it's there, and you can tell that it's there, but it's not as high up in the mix as a lot of people think that it is when they hear us live. Because they're just like, oh yeah, the bass is killing it, dude. It's just like, I have it on maybe like 0 unity gain. But like, and that's the thing though, because of the way as you say, like where the guitars sit in the mix too, where they're double tracked and sometimes even triple tracked.
Right.
You don't need to have that stupidly up there bass to compensate for that lack of low end. So, I mean, if he tried to do it like we played it live, like that album would be all over the place.
Well, and that's just it. And then you don't want to have everything sounding like a pile of shit, right?
Right.
This is going to kind of make people go, wait, the fuck? The beauty of it, the simplicity, the heaviness, it's as if you took AC/DC, Yob, put them together, and had the vocal melodies of Jerry Cantrell and Lane Staley.
Yeah. Or
even Jerry and William Duvall. That's what I'm hearing, which is probably the fucking goofiest pile of shit people are going to be like,
well, I mean, that's a fair combination, I think, because while we don't lean too heavily into the Alice in Chains thing, just because we don't want people being like, oh, they're becoming an Alice in Chains tribute band or something. But, it's in there to a point where it's a texture. And it's another kind of color on the palette that we now have to draw from, where before Bill was the only vocalist. So, and my thing too is where he's kind of like a little bit more all over the place vocally in terms of technique. I'm kind of like a black and white kind of vocalist. I can do super clean. I can do super distorted. I can't combine the two.
And that's not easy.
No. Well, I mean, if you look at, and even on some of the more melodic tracks like Backlash or Threshold, where you've got those things, or even The Truth, actually, for example. Like, there's times where we're doing harmonies, but then underneath you've still got, like, me doing a growl track. And
right, which I also appreciate that.
Because, I mean, and that's what we do live, where we're kind of slowly amalgamating more what we can do as a unit now into the records, and that's going to be happening on the stuff going forward. Like, without spoiling anything, Bill's already in writing mode for the album after this one. So,
as per usual.
Yeah, that's kind of his MO. He'll be just like, I'm in the creative space, and just riffs start pouring out of nowhere, or sometimes I'll send him something and he'll be like I said, like with Truth, I send him a thing, next day he's like, got a song.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So pretty much to kind of wrap this up, it's really rare that I get excited about a record from a local band, simply because there's only a few local bands that really sort of hit the mark.
Yeah.
Death Valley Driver, Discord, obviously Doom Machine, and that's not even biased because people go, oh, I'm fucking biased. Yeah. I guess with my score, I didn't have to think too hard about this because I was walking through the songs this morning on the way to work, and it was like, it's like I said, it's the vocals that sit with me the most, and yourself and Bill, I think this, like I said, it's some of the best I've heard in a while. Musically, it's exactly what I expected out of Doom Machine as a whole. This is definitely a 4.5 out of 5 for a joke.
Fucking right.
And it's, again, people will be like, well, you're fucking biased. No, it's not biased, guys. I take that outside of, or I take that away from my thought processes. I think the only thing, I don't know. I don't think there's anything really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Although I kind of wish that Bill would actually put on an extra guest spot.
You can hash that out with him, buddy. That's up to you.
Well, he'll just probably tell me. He'll probably just tell me to go fuck myself. But that's besides.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, if you, I mean, like, not to potentially stir the pot here, but I mean, just what was it? Ethan Anderson, the guy that runs Drag the Water.
Yes.
He was in a band or whatever, and he really liked the song "Out of the Cold" from whatever album. I think that might have been on Written in Stone. Anyway, regardless, when they did the Decade of Doom compilation, Bill was re-recording it, and Ethan got wind of it and was just like, "Hey, can I sing on your album?" He just kind of kept bugging Bill, and eventually Bill was like, "Yeah, all right, fine." Like, you know, it's not like it was like an original thing. It was something that was already established, so it's not like he can come in and just try and be crazy with all of his parts, right? But so, I mean, you know, but I mean, and to that note too, like, same thing, arranging. Like, you know, that's something that Bill and I now can do as a two-piece kind of unit, whereas before it was all him for the most part. And, you know, I say this with as much love and respect as I can muster. Jason is one of those guys that is just kind of like, "Oh, okay."
he seemed like that when I talked to him at one of the shows that Bill was playing on, of course, with Colin.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yep.
That's basically him all the time. Like, unless he's like got a very, very specific thing that he wants done, he's just kind of like, I mean, whatever you guys want to do is fine. Like, I'll make it work. And to be fair, I mean, like, when we rehearse and whatever, like, he's just like, he's always on the money when it comes to like his parts and his groove. And I would rather have somebody who can stay in that pocket and groove than have just like a technical, you know, wizard who's just like, you know, trying to cram blast beats and, you know, like, you know, Mike Portnoy diarrhea fills in there.
Because even his drumming on this is very, again, it's simple, but to the point, and it's tight as fuck. There's not a whole lot of deviation from anything.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I don't really have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah. To
be 100% honest.
Yeah. And I mean, coming at it from my standpoint too, where this is my first real recording project, and it kind of definitely thrown me into the deep end. So the fact that it's, you know, from what minimal stuff we have out for it now, that people are already like, yeah, this is awesome, and they're kind of like, you know, gravitating to it. Like, I mean, again, you and I have discussed that I'm not really a lead player by any stretch. I'm not like to the level of like, you know, Evan Frizzle or, you know, somebody like that. But, you know, the stuff that I've got on there, like, I think it works musically, and, you know, it's not going to be a total, you know, over-the-top flash fest to take away from the tune.
Right.
So, I mean, like, the solo from Truth, I just went to Bill's one night, and I just hit record and let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. And that was basically, the solo that you have on there is basically, it was a one-taker. It was just like, okay, that works. So, sometimes it craps out of me, and then other times I'll be sitting there noodling, and Bill will look at me and be like, "Do it again. That wasn't good."
Yeah, I've heard that more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, the joys of Bill, he wears so many hats in the band. He's the recording engineer, he's the producer, he's the songwriter, he's the bass player and the vocalist and the front man, and, you know, he's got all this stuff going on. So he wears a lot of hats.
Yeah, busy man.
He is, very much.
Well, okay, folks, I think that's just about it for this lovely chat with Ryan and I.
Yeah.
New record is out today, March 11th, on Bandcamp, as well as Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. And the album is called My Good Man.
Somewhere Between the Truth and the Void. So, as I'm not sure if you actually mentioned it or not, but there are literally 4 tracks on this album that are titled in the title. So there's a track that's somewhere. There is Between, there is The Truth, and the first song on the album is The Void, which is the first song that the band has done that did not actually have Bill as the primary vocalist. So that'll be a little bit of a twist for people. I'm sure they're going to listen to it and be like, wait, what?
Yeah. So yeah, get it while you can, and yeah. So again, guys, I'll have another video out about my other things later on.
Yeah.
But I've got some other things I got to work on, and you know how it is. So
True that.
stay heavy, everybody.
Row!